They had everything money could buy, but their home felt empty and cold. Then they adopted a poor orphan girl who changed everything. But months later, they discovered something shocking about her past. What was her secret? And how did this little girl save their marriage? Grab your popcorn, sit back, and find out as we go into this story. This is the story of a wealthy couple named Michael and Clara. They lived in a big house in Lagos. They had cars, servants, and everything money could buy. But one thing was missing: happiness. Their marriage had become cold. They barely spoke to each other anymore. And when they did, it was always arguments. Small things turned into big fights. Clara would say Michael didn't care. Michael would say Clara was never satisfied. The house that once had laughter now only had silence and anger. 8 years. That's how long they had been married. 8 long years of trying to have a child. 8 years of doctors, prayers, and disappointments. Each failed attempt pushed them further apart. Clara blamed herself. Michael threw himself into work. Their love was drowning in sadness. They had become strangers living under the same roof. One Saturday afternoon, Michael sat alone in his study. The room was dark. He looked at his wedding photo on the wall. Clara's smile in that picture seemed like a memory from another life. He whispered to himself, "When did we stop smiling?" He remembered their wedding day, how Clara had looked at him with so much love, how he had promised to make her happy forever. Now he couldn't even look her in the eye. Outside, Clara sat in the garden, staring at nothing, her mind far away. She remembered how Michael used to hold her hand, how they used to laugh together, how he used to call her his sunshine. Now he barely looked at her. She wiped a tear from her cheek and took a deep breath. That evening, they sat at the dining table. The food was hot, the drinks were cold, but no words were spoken. The only sound was the clinking of forks against plates. The servants moved quietly around them. Sensing the tension, after a long silence, Clara said, "Michael, are you always this quiet?" Michael looked up slowly. "I have nothing to say," he answered. Clara pressed her lips together. "You used to have so much to say to me." Michael put down his fork. "Things change, Clara." She looked at him with sad eyes. "Yes, they do, but I didn't think we would change like this." Michael stood up. "I need to make some calls." He walked away, leaving Clara sitting alone at the table. She stared at his empty chair and felt tears rolling down her face. The next morning, Michael's friend Daniel came to visit. Daniel had known them for years. He had watched their marriage turn cold. He sat in the living room with Michael and asked, "How are you holding up?" Michael shook his head. "I don't know anymore. Daniel, Clara, and I, were just existing." Daniel leaned forward. "I've been watching you two for months now. You're both hurting." Michael nodded. "I know. But I don't know how to fix it." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Have you two thought about adoption?" Michael looked confused. "Adoption?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, I know some couples who adopted children and it changed their lives. Maybe a child could bring back the joy you've lost. Maybe a little heart could heal yours." Michael stared at his friend. "You really think that could work?" Daniel smiled. "I don't know for sure. But I know this. Right now you and Clara are drowning in your own pain. Maybe having someone else to love, someone else to focus on, could remind you both why you fell in love in the first place." Michael was silent for a long time. He thought about it carefully. Then he said, "Let me talk to Clara." Daniel stood up and placed a hand on Michael's shoulder. "Whatever you decide, do it soon. Don't let your marriage die without a fight." That evening, Michael found Clara in the bedroom. She was reading a book, but her eyes weren't moving. "Clara," he said softly. She looked up with surprise. They hadn't had a real conversation in weeks. "Can we talk?" he asked. She closed the book slowly. "About what?" Michael sat on the edge of the bed, his hands shaking a little. "Daniel came by today. He suggested something." Clara waited. "He said maybe we should adopt a child." Clara's eyes widened. "Adopt?" Michael nodded. "Yes, maybe it could help us. Maybe a child could bring us back together." Clara was silent. She looked down at her hands, her mind racing. Do you think it would work? She asked quietly. Michael reached for her hand. It was the first time he had touched her in months. I don't know, but I'm willing to try if you are. I'm tired of living like this, Clara. I'm tired of the silence. I miss you. Clara felt tears in her eyes. I miss you too. Michael squeezed her hand. Then let's try. Let's do this together. Clara looked at him. And for the first time in months, she saw something in his eyes, hope. She nodded slowly. Okay, let's try. The next week, they visited the orphanage. It was a small building on the outskirts of Lagos. Children's voices filled the air. Some were playing football in the yard, some were singing songs. Some were sitting quietly under the trees. The director, a kind woman named Mrs. Oho, welcomed them with a warm smile. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Michael, please come in. Thank you for considering adoption. She led them through the building. They saw children of all ages, babies sleeping in cribs, toddlers running around, teenagers reading books. We have over 50 children here, Mrs. Oho explained. Some were abandoned, some lost their parents. But they all need love. As they walked through the common room, Clara saw children playing. They were laughing and chasing each other. But then she saw her, a little girl sitting alone in the corner of the room. She had big brown eyes and her hair was packed in small cornrows. She looked about 10 years old. She wasn't playing with the other children. She was just sitting there, watching them with a quiet expression. Something about her pulled at Clara's heart. Clara stopped walking. Who is that girl? She asked Mrs. Oho. Mrs. Oho looked over and smiled softly. Oh, that's Mercy. She came here 2 years ago. Very quiet girl, very gentle, she doesn't talk much. But she's always helping the younger children. Clara couldn't take her eyes off the little girl. Can I talk to her? Mrs. Oho nodded. Of course. Clara walked toward her slowly. The little girl looked up when she noticed someone approaching. Hello, Clara said softly, kneeling down to her level. The girl smiled a little. Good afternoon. Ma. Clara felt her heart warm. What's your name? Mercy, the girl said quietly. Clara smiled. That's a beautiful name. It means kindness and forgiveness. Mercy looked down. My mother gave me that name. She said I was her mercy from God. Clara's eyes softened. Your mother sounds like a wise woman. Mercy nodded slowly, her eyes becoming sad. She was. Clara sat beside her. What are you doing here all alone? Mercy shrugged. I like watching the other children play. They're happy. Clara noticed something in her voice, loneliness. Don't you want to play with them? Mercy shook her head. They have their friends. I don't want to disturb them. Clara's heart broke a little. This little girl was so considerate of others, even when she was lonely herself. Clara looked at Michael, who had been watching from a distance. He walked over and knelt beside them too. Hello, Mercy. My name is Michael. Mercy looked at him. Good afternoon, sir. Michael smiled. You seem like a very special girl. Mercy looked confused. Me? Why? Michael glanced at Clara, then back at Mercy. Because you have kind eyes, and I think kind people are the most special people in the world. Mercy blushed a little. Clara took a deep breath. Mercy, how would you feel about coming home with us? Mercy's eyes widened. She looked at Clara, then at Michael, then back at Clara. You want to take me? Clara nodded, her eyes filling with tears. Yes. We would love to have you as our daughter. Mercy's lips trembled. But I'm not a baby. Most people want babies. Michael shook his head. We don't want a baby, we want you. Mercy sat there in shock. She had watched many children get adopted over the past 2 years. Always the younger ones, always the ones who smiled more. She never thought anyone would choose her. Are you sure? She whispered. Clara took her hand gently. Very sure. A tear rolled down Mercy's cheek, then slowly she nodded. Yes, Ma. I would like that very much. Clara pulled her into a hug. Michael placed his hand on her shoulder. Mrs. Oho stood nearby, wiping her own eyes. She had seen many adoptions. but this one felt different. This one felt like destiny. 1 week later, after all the paperwork was completed, Mercy moved into their house. She had only one small bag of clothes and a worn-out teddy bear that Mrs. Oho said she had carried with her since the day she arrived at the orphanage. When the car pulled up to the big house, Mercy pressed her face against the window. Her mouth opened wide. She had never seen anything so beautiful. The house looked like something from a movie. "Is this where I'll live?" she asked softly. Clara smiled. "Yes, my dear. This is your home now." When they walked inside, Mercy stood in the entrance, afraid to move. Everything was so clean and beautiful. There were paintings, plants, and furniture that looked brand new. Michael noticed her hesitation. "Mercy, you can walk around. You don't have to stand there." Mercy took small steps forward. Looking around in wonder, Clara took her hand. "Come. Let me show you your room." They walked up the curved staircase. Mercy held the railing carefully, amazed at how smooth it felt. Clara opened a door at the end of the hallway. "This is your room now," she said. Mercy stepped inside slowly. The room was bigger than the entire space she had shared with 10 other girls at the orphanage. The bed was big and covered with a pink bedspread. There was a wardrobe, a study table with a chair, a bookshelf, and even a small reading corner with cushions by the window. On the shelf were dolls, books, and stuffed animals. "All of this is for me?" Mercy whispered. Michael smiled. "Yes, all for you. And if there's anything else you need, just tell us." Mercy walked to the bed and touched it gently. It was soft, so soft. She looked at Clara with tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Ma, thank you." "Sir." Clara hugged her. "You're our daughter now. You don't have to thank us for giving you what you deserve." That night, Mercy lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The room was dark except for a small nightlight Clara had left on. Mercy couldn't believe it. Just days ago, she had been sleeping on a thin mat at the orphanage, sharing a fan with 9 other girls. Now she had a real bed, a real room, a real home. She clutched her teddy bear and whispered, "Thank you, God. Thank you for giving me a family." But even as she thanked God, there was something else in her heart: sadness. There was something. She thought about her parents. She missed them so much. She missed her mother's voice. She missed her father's laugh. But she knew they were never coming back. She wiped a tear and closed her eyes, hoping tomorrow would be better. The first few days were quiet. Mercy didn't talk much. She ate her food without making noise. She said, "Yes, Ma," and "Yes, sir" to everything. She stayed in her room most of the time. Afraid to disturb anyone, Clara tried to talk to her. But Mercy only gave short answers. Michael noticed it too. One evening he said to Clara, "She's too quiet. Do you think she's okay?" Clara sighed. "I don't know. Maybe she's still adjusting. Maybe she needs time." Michael nodded slowly. "Maybe. But I hope she knows she's safe here." Clara looked toward the staircase. "I hope so too." But something else was happening. Even though Mercy was quiet, her presence was slowly changing the house. Clara noticed it first. One morning, she woke up and heard humming. She followed the sound and found Mercy in the kitchen. The little girl was arranging the dishes on the drying rack and humming a soft church song. Clara stood by the door and watched. The servants were looking at Mercy with surprise. But they didn't stop her. It was such a simple thing. But it made the house feel alive. Clara felt something stir in her heart. Something she hadn't felt in a long time: joy. Michael noticed it too. One evening he came home tired from a long day at the office. He had been in meetings all day, dealing with difficult clients. He dropped his bag and sat on the couch with his eyes closed, his head pounding. Then he felt a small hand touch his arm. He opened his eyes. It was Mercy. She held a glass of cold water in one hand and a wet towel in the other. "You look tired, sir," she said softly. "I brought you water, and this towel is for your head." Michael's heart melted a little. No one had done something like this for him in years. "Thank you, Mercy. You didn't have to do this," she smiled shyly. "But I wanted to. My father used to come home tired too. My mother would give him water and a cold towel. He always said it made him feel better. Michael took the water and drank slowly. Then Mercy placed the towel on his forehead. It felt cool and soothing. "Your mother taught you well," Michael said. Mercy's smile faded a little. "Yes, she did." Then she walked away quietly. Slowly, Mercy began to open up. She started talking more at dinner. She asked Clara questions. "Ma, what is your favorite color?" Clara looked up, surprised that Mercy was starting a conversation. "Blue. It reminds me of the sky. What's yours?" Mercy thought for a moment. "I like yellow. It reminds me of the sun. My mother used to say sunshine can chase away any darkness." Clara smiled warmly. "Your mother was very wise," Mercy nodded. "She was. She told me many things before she died." Clara reached across the table and held her hand. "You can tell me about her any time you want." "I would love to hear." Mercy's eyes brightened. "Really?" Clara nodded. "Really." Mercy also talked to Michael more. One evening, she found him in his study, working on his laptop. She knocked softly. "Sir, can I come in?" Michael looked up. "Of course, Mercy." She walked in and stood beside his desk. "Sir, why do you work so much?" Michael looked at her, surprised by the question. "Because I have to. I have a big company to run." Mercy tilted her head. "But don't you get tired?" Michael paused. He had never thought about it that way. "Yes, I do get tired." Mercy smiled gently. "Then you should rest sometimes." "My father used to say that even the strongest man needs rest." Michael looked at this little girl with wonder. She was so young, but her words were so wise. "You're right, Mercy. Maybe I should rest more." Mercy nodded happily. "Good. Because Ma looks sad when you're always working." Michael froze. "She does?" Mercy nodded again. "Yes, sometimes I see her looking at your study door. She looks like she wants to come in, but she doesn't." Michael felt a pang in his chest. He had been so busy avoiding his pain that he didn't realize he was causing Clara more pain. "Thank you for telling me, Mercy." She smiled and left the room. Weeks passed. Mercy noticed everything, small things that others might miss. She noticed that Clara liked her tea with a little sugar and no milk. She noticed that Michael liked to sit by the window in the evening and watch the sunset. She noticed that they didn't talk to each other much. So one day she decided to do something about it. At breakfast, Mercy looked at Michael and said, "Sir, did you know Ma likes it when you smile?" Michael looked up from his newspaper, confused. "What?" Mercy nodded seriously. "Yes, yesterday. When you smiled at her in the morning, she looked very happy. She smiled too after you left." Clara's cheeks turned red. "Mercy." Michael looked at Clara. Then back at Mercy, he gave a small smile. "Really? I didn't know that." Mercy nodded again. "Yes, really. I think she misses your smile." Later that day, Mercy was sitting with Clara in the living room, helping her arrange some flowers. She looked at Clara carefully and said, "Ma, did you know Sir likes it when you ask him about his work?" Clara raised her eyebrows. "He does?" Mercy smiled. "Yes, he was reading some papers yesterday and I asked him about them. He looked very happy to explain. He said he wishes someone at home would ask him about his work." Clara looked surprised. "He said that?" Mercy nodded. "Yes, I think he feels lonely sometimes." Clara was quiet. She had been so focused on her own pain that she never thought Michael might be lonely too. That evening, when Michael came home, Clara was waiting in the living room instead of hiding in the bedroom. "Michael," she called softly. He stopped, surprised. "Yes?" Clara stood up. "How was your day?" Michael stared at her. It had been months since she asked him that question. It was good. We signed a new contract today." Clara smiled. "That's wonderful. Tell me about it." Michael's eyes widened. "You want to hear about it?" Clara nodded. "Yes, I do." So Michael sat down and told her about his day, about the meeting. The clients, the challenges, and Clara listened. Really listened for the first time in months. They were talking, and from the staircase, little Mercy watched with a big smile on her face. Little by little, Mercy was planting seeds of love. She reminded them of the little things they used to do for each other. The things they had forgotten. One morning, Mercy said to Michael, "Sir, Mes' birthday is in 2 weeks." Michael's face went pale. He had forgotten. He used to plan big surprises for Clara's birthday. But in the past 2 years, he had forgotten completely. "Are you sure?" Mercy nodded. "Yes, sir. I heard the housekeeper mention it." Michael looked worried. "I don't know what to do for her." Mercy smiled. "You don't have to do something big, sir, just do something from your heart. My father used to pick flowers from the garden for my mother. She said those flowers meant more than any expensive gift." Michael looked at Mercy thoughtfully. "You're very wise for a 10-year-old. Mercy laughed. "My mother said wisdom doesn't come with age. It comes from paying attention." On Clara's birthday, Michael woke up early. He went to the garden and picked the most beautiful roses. He arranged them in a vase himself. Not asking any servant to help, then he made breakfast. Well, he tried. The eggs were a bit burnt, and the toast was too dark, but it was from his heart. He carried the tray upstairs and knocked on their bedroom door. Clara opened it, surprised to see him. "Michael?" He smiled nervously. "Happy birthday, Clara." He handed her the roses and the breakfast tray. Clara's eyes filled with tears. "You remembered?" Michael nodded. "I did, and I'm sorry for forgetting the past 2 years." Clara looked at the burnt eggs and laughed. "Did you make this yourself?" Michael looked embarrassed. "Yes. I know it's not good." Clara kissed his cheek. "It's perfect." That morning, they sat together and ate the burnt breakfast, laughing and talking like they used to. And Mercy, who had been watching from her room, smiled and whispered, "Thank you, God." One evening, Mercy was watching them from the dining room. She saw how Clara passed Michael the salt without him asking. She saw how Michael poured water into Clara's glass when it was empty, small gestures that showed they were starting to care again. But that night, Mercy had a nightmare. She dreamed about the accident. The loud crash, her mother's scream, her father's voice calling her name. She woke up crying. She tried to be quiet, but the sobs wouldn't stop. Clara heard the crying from her room. She got up quickly and ran to Mercy's room. Michael followed her. They found Mercy sitting on the bed, tears streaming down her face, holding her teddy bear tight. "Mercy, what's wrong?" Clara asked. Sitting beside her, Mercy couldn't speak. She just cried. Clara pulled her into her arms. "It's okay, my dear, we're here. You're safe." Michael sat on the other side and rubbed her back gently. "We're not going anywhere, Mercy. You're not alone." After a while, Mercy's crying slowed down. She looked at them with red eyes. "I had a bad dream." Clara wiped her tears. "Do you want to talk about it?" Mercy nodded slowly. "I dreamed about my parents, about the accident." Michael's heart hurt for this little girl who had lost so much. "How did it happen, Mercy?" Mercy took a shaky breath. "We were coming back from church. It was raining. A big truck came from nowhere and hit our car. I woke up in the hospital. A nurse told me my parents didn't make it." She started crying again. "I was with them, but I survived. I don't know why I survived, and they didn't. I wish I had died with them." Clara hugged her tighter. "No, my dear, don't say that. God saved you for a reason." Michael wiped his own eyes. "Your parents would want you to live. They would want you to be happy." Mercy looked at them. "Do you really think so?" Clara nodded. "I know so, and Mercy, we can never replace your parents, but we love you. We will always love you." From that night, everything changed. Clara and Michael didn't just see Mercy as the girl who was fixing their marriage. They saw her as their daughter, their blessing, their child. They started spending more time with her. Clara taught her how to bake. Michael taught her how to play chess. They watched movies together. They laughed together. They became a real family. And somewhere in the process of loving Mercy, Clara and Michael fell in love with each other all over again. Then one morning, something amazing happened. Clara woke up feeling sick. She rushed to the bathroom and threw up. Michael heard her and ran in, worried. "Clara, are you okay?" Clara looked pale. "I don't know. I've been feeling strange for the past few days." Michael's eyes widened. Do you think? Clara looked at him, her heart beating fast. Maybe. Let me take a test. She took a pregnancy test. They waited in silence. Each second felt like an hour. Then 2 lines appeared. Clara's hands started shaking. She couldn't speak. Michael looked at the test. His eyes filled with tears. Clara, you're pregnant. Clara burst into tears. After 8 years, after all this time. Michael pulled her into his arms. They held each other and cried tears of joy. After 8 long years of waiting, praying, and hoping, God had finally answered their prayers. When they told Mercy she was in her room reading, they both walked in with big smiles on their faces. Mercy looked up. What's wrong? Why are you both smiling? Clara sat on the bed beside her. We have some news. Mercy put down her book. What news? Michael knelt beside them. Mercy, you're going to be a big sister. Mercy's eyes went wide. What? Really? Clara nodded, crying happy tears. Yes, my dear, I'm pregnant. Mercy screamed with joy. She jumped up and down on the bed. I'm going to be a big sister. I'm going to be a big sister. She hugged them both tight. Thank you. Thank you. This is the best news ever. Clara laughed. We should be thanking you. Mercy looked confused. Me? Why? Michael smiled. Because you brought love back to this house. You reminded us how to be a family. And now God has blessed us with another child. Mercy's eyes filled with tears. I'm so happy, I'm so happy. 9 months felt like both forever and no time at all. When Clara went into labor, it was late at night. Michael rushed her to the hospital while Mercy stayed home with the housekeeper. Praying, she knelt beside her bed and prayed like her mother had taught her. God, please keep Ma and the baby safe. Please bring them home. Hours passed. Finally, at 5 a.m., Michael called. Mercy? Mercy grabbed the phone quickly. Yes, sir. Is everything okay? Michael's voice was filled with joy. It's a boy, Mercy. You have a baby brother. Mercy screamed so loud she woke up everyone in the house. A brother. I have a brother. When they brought the baby home 3 days later, Mercy was waiting at the door. Clara walked in slowly, holding a blue bundle. Mercy, come meet your brother. Mercy walked over carefully. She looked at the tiny baby with wonder. He's so small. Clara smiled. Yes, he is. Would you like to hold him? Mercy's eyes widened. Can I? Michael nodded. Of course, sit on the couch and we'll place him in your arms. Mercy sat down carefully. Clara placed the baby in her arms, showing her how to support his head. Mercy looked down at her baby brother. He had tiny fingers and tiny toes. His eyes were closed and he was sleeping peacefully. What's his name? Mercy whispered. Michael smiled. We named him Daniel, after the friend who told us to adopt, but we gave him a middle name too. Daniel Mercy. Mercy looked up with tears in her eyes. You gave him my name? Clara nodded. Because without you, none of this would have happened. You brought us back together. You made us a family. Mercy looked back at baby Daniel and whispered, Welcome home, little brother. I promise I'll always protect you. The house was filled with new life, months turned into years. Baby Daniel grew into a toddler, then a little boy. And he loved his big sister more than anything. His first word was Sissy. Mercy would take him to the garden and teach him the names of flowers. She would read him stories at bedtime. She would hold his hand when he was scared. Michael and Clara watched their children grow with hearts full of gratitude. One evening, when Daniel was 5 years old, he asked Mercy a question. Sissy, why don't you look like Mommy and Daddy? Mercy smiled gently. Because I'm adopted, Daniel. That means Mommy and Daddy chose me to be their daughter. Daniel thought about it. So, you're special? Mercy laughed. I don't know about special. Daniel hugged her. You are special. You're the best sister in the whole world. Mercy hugged him back. Her heart full of love. Years passed. Mercy grew into a beautiful young woman. She went to the best schools. She had everything she needed. But more than that, she had a family. A family that loved her. A family she had helped heal. And Daniel grew up calling Mercy his hero. They were inseparable. When Mercy was graduating from university, the whole family was there. Michael, Clara, and 15-year-old Daniel sat in the front row. When Mercy's name was called, they all stood up and cheered loudly. Mercy walked across the stage in her cap and gown, holding her diploma, smiling brightly. After the ceremony, Michael asked to say a few words to the family gathered in the house for the celebration. Everyone went quiet. Many years ago, he began. My wife and I were broken. Our marriage was dying. We had everything money could buy, but we had nothing that mattered. He looked at Mercy standing beside Clara. Then God sent us an angel, a quiet little 10-year-old girl named Mercy. He paused, his voice shaking with emotion. She taught us how to love again. She reminded us what family means. She saved our marriage and our lives. He looked directly at Mercy. Today, as she graduates, I want her to know that she is not just our adopted daughter. She is our daughter, our blessing, our hero. Clara stood up, crying. We didn't rescue you, Mercy. You rescued us. Daniel ran to Mercy and hugged her tight. I love you, Sissy. Mercy was crying too. Happy tears. I love you all so much. You gave me a home when I had nothing. You gave me love when I was alone. You're my family and I'll love you forever. This story reminds us that sometimes the greatest blessings come in the smallest packages. Mercy was just a quiet little girl from an orphanage. But her gentle spirit and pure kindness changed everything. She reminded a broken couple how to love again. And in the end, she didn't just find a family. She became the heart of it, the blessing that saved them all. Now I'd love to hear from you. What lesson did you learn from this story? Have you ever experienced a moment where someone unexpected changed your life? Please drop your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be reading them also. I have another very interesting story coming in just a few days. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell so you'll know the moment the story is uploaded. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you again soon. God bless you.